Welcome, everyone, to the NoDQ.com live recap of AEW Dynamite for January 28th, 2026. Shout out to everybody watching this, whether it's live or on demand. We're starting to get close to the Revolution pay-per-view, things picking up a little bit. Let's get to Dynamite. We opened up the show with Kenny Omega coming down to the ring for a match with Rocky Romero. Rocky got no entrance. It was basically a squash match. Rocky did get in a little bit of offense. He took a cheap shot at Omega. Omega was able to fight back, and then Omega went for the V trigger. Rocky escaped to the outside, and then Rocky used the referee to gain the advantage for a while. But then Rocky got too arrogant, and that cost him. Omega regained the upper hand, hit the V trigger, and then won with the one-winged angel. Did not go longer than it needed to be. One segment here, over in a couple of minutes, as it should be. And then afterwards, Tony Schiavone, who was wearing yellow sneakers, Tony Schiavone trying to be one of the cool kids now, reminds me of that meme, "How's it going, young kids?" The old guy. But anyways, Tony Schiavone talked to Kenny Omega, and it was revealed that there will be a series of matches, and then there will be a number one contenders match at AEW Grand Slam Australia in a couple of weeks. And the winner of that match will go on to face MJF for the world title at Revolution. Omega vowed to be champion, but then Hangman Adam Page came down, and then Swerve Strickland came down. Swerve brought up how he's undefeated since his return from injury, and he said he does not care who he has to go through. He stared down Kenny Omega, and Omega was ready to fight Swerve, but then Don Callis showed up. Callis was getting booed out of the building, and he said that Andrade will end Swerve's streak. That was set up for the main event, and Andrade would be coming for Omega next. Now, if you recall, Andrade attacked Omega when he made his return to AEW, so keep that in mind. Kenny Omega ran after Don Callis, and that was the end of the segment. Good opening to the show to set up the main event and set up potential future matches. We had our first match, or second match, I should say, of the show. Jon Moxley versus Ace Austin, who was formerly in TNA. This was what I think was an Eliminator match, where if Ace Austin won, he would get a future title match. It was fine. Basically, just a showcase match for Jon Moxley and give Ace Austin a little bit of airtime and a chance to show what he can do. And it was good. It was good for what it was. Austin was competitive, but then eventually Moxley beat him after hitting the cutter and then the Death Rider. Afterwards, we had a setup for a future match with Moxley as Konosuke Takeshita came out there and had a stare down with Moxley. And then Davis and Doyle showed up and attacked Jon Moxley from behind. And that would set up something for later. Davis and Doyle had a tag team title match, but they got a problem with the Death Riders. Next up, we had Mark Briscoe, the TNT champion, defending his title against Clon with Don Callis on commentary. And shout out to Colin Andrew and Dave Scheffler, who sent in super chats. I will get to those in just a few moments, so stay tuned. Don Callis was on commentary for this one. Don Callis all over the place on this show. Several of his guys had matches. Pretty good showing for Clon, who I haven't really seen because I don't watch Collision. He did well in this one against Mark Briscoe. He used the ring skirt to gain the advantage. After the commercial break, they traded blows, and Briscoe built up some momentum. He hit the fisherman bomb. He did the top rope elbow, but Clon kicked out of that. And Clon was actually able to counter out of the J Driller, hit a top rope stomp, and he tried his finisher, the Portal Bomb. I guess it's Hologram's finisher. He's El Clone. He's the evil version of Hologram, I guess. But Briscoe was able to counter that. He reversed it into a pin, and he got the 1-2-3 to retain his championship. Now, here's where things got interesting. After the match, you had Briscoe cutting a promo, and he said he would continue to be a fighting champion, and he issued an open challenge for this Saturday on Collision, and the challenge was opened right here on the spot. The lights went out. We had a heart on the big screen, and it was in black and white, black heart, and at that moment, I knew who it was, and sure enough, it was Tommaso Ciampa, fresh off of his WWE run. His contract just expired. He posted a farewell statement last week, and perhaps sooner than some expected, he's right in AEW. He came down. He's the psycho killer. He confronted Mark Briscoe, basically accepting the challenge for Saturday's Collision. So this is interesting. Will Ciampa lose his first match, or will he beat Mark Briscoe and become the new TNT champion? I will say this. This is probably the most intriguing match I've seen for a Collision in some time. I might actually check it out live. I don't think I'll be recapping the show or anything, but this one intrigues me. This is the first time I've felt interested enough in a match that was announced for Collision, considering it's Ciampa's debut. Now, Colin Andrew sent in a $2 super chat. Thank you, Colin. He says, protect your neck, Ciampa. Wow, what a mistake. That's my big concern, because Ciampa has a history of neck issues. He was out of action for a while in WWE NXT. And I don't know if AEW is the best place for him. He'll have great matches, and it just goes to show how highly regarded he is. Tony Khan was very quick to sign him, and he got the all-elite graphics, so this doesn't look like a one-off. It appears that he has signed a contract with AEW. Typically, when they get the graphic, that means they're signed. Looks like he's going full steam ahead into AEW, and I hope for his sake he can stay healthy and not get injured. That would be ideal. Wishing the best for Ciampa. And if he could stay healthy, I think he'll have a solid run in AEW. He's got a lot of new, fresh faces he can work with, whether it's Kyle Fletcher or Takeshita or Swerve Strickland, MJF, Will Ospreay when Ospreay returns. He's got a lot of options. If Ciampa stays healthy, I think he'll have a good run in AEW. So it was a pretty big moment here. First time we've seen AEW sign a WWE guy in quite some time. And I like these types of signings better when they sign a guy that willingly left. In this case, Ciampa's contract expired and he just left the company, rather than somebody gets cut with 10 other people and then AEW picks up the scraps. So I think this was a good signing, but I do have my concerns about Ciampa's health. And we'll see how things go. Hoping for the best for the guy. And Dave Scheffler, I will get to your super chat in just a little bit. Now, of course, this could go bad in another way. Ciampa loses and then he's not booked. He's on Collision or in Ring of Honor. That would be a mistake. Ciampa should really be pushed strongly and get him in the mix with Takeshita and Swerve and Ospreay and all those guys. He really should be an upper card guy in AEW, but we'll see. If he ends up in Ring of Honor in a month and Collision most of the time, then it probably wasn't the right move for him, but we'll see. And also if he gets injured, not the right move, but we'll see. The jury is out on it. All right, moving on here. And by the way, he gave the kiss of death to Mark Briscoe. I would put the title on him. I mean, I really don't think he should be losing his first match. So I would go with that, and we'll see what happens. Backstage, Okada confronted Kyle Fletcher and explained his actions from World's End when he took the screwdriver that Kyle Fletcher wanted to use. And he said he wasn't thinking, he was just trying to win. He wanted to face Kyle in the finals, and he didn't mean to hurt him. He apologized, and Kyle did accept the apology, and they shook hands. World champion MJF came to the ring for a promo. He was quickly interrupted by Brody King. MJF called him big and stupid and only agreed to get in the ring if Brody King would be professional and speak like a man, which Brody did agree to. So MJF got in the ring, and he said that Brody's just a follower. He follows guys like Malachi Black and Buddy Matthews. MJF asked how was the knee of Buddy Matthews, but then made it clear he doesn't care. And he had an interesting line. He said that Brody King is a liberal man that looks like a Nazi. That was an exact quote, or pretty much an exact quote from MJF. He said, "I've never seen a liberal man that has looked so much like a Nazi." Basically, that was the line. And then Brody had a chance to respond. He said that he never had to follow anybody. He has friends, unlike MJF, and he revealed that they will have an Eliminator match next week. And if Brody King wins, he gets a title match at Grand Slam Australia. Seems like a pretty obvious direction where Brody King beats MJF next week, gets the title match at Grand Slam, and then loses. Seems like the obvious outcome of this. Maybe Brody doesn't win next week and there's no title match till Revolution. Who knows? But all in all, good segment. I liked it. My guess is, though, Brody will win next week. Shout out to Keith Johnson, who sent in a $2 super chat. Thank you for that. Says, stupid question. Why did Ciampa leave WWE? Well, I don't think it's a stupid question. A lot of people are wondering why. My guess is he felt like he reached his ceiling in WWE, as wrestlers tend to feel. He was in a tag team with Johnny Gargano, and I'm sure he was enjoying that. But at the same time, is that just going to be the rest of his career in wrestling, just being in a mid-card tag team and not having a chance to perform to the best of his abilities? And I think with Ciampa, AEW does present some new opportunities for him as a singles wrestler. But like I said, my concern is, can he stay healthy? I think in his mind, it was time to make the jump. He was in WWE for, close to a decade, almost a full decade. I think it was 2016 he came in, so very close to 10 years. And just like Cody Rhodes left AEW, just like Andrade left AEW and came back to AEW, sometimes you just got to switch territories when you feel you've gone as far as you can go and you need to shake things up a little bit. So I would say that's why he just needed a change of pace and wants to do something different for however long he decides he wants to wrestle. And it seems to me like he's probably on his last run, maybe 6, 7, didn't mean to do that, 6 to 8 years or whatever, and then he'll be done. Thank you for the super chat. And back to Dynamite. We had Kris Statlander defending her women's championship against Thekla, the one women's match, 9-10, 9-15. This was a really good match, though. I thought this was better than a lot of the pay-per-view women's matches I've seen over the past year. This could have been on a pay-per-view. I thought they had a hell of a match. Thekla did really good here, playing the heel role well, going for the handshake, but then slapping her and then going to the outside. And then Statlander, this was interesting. Statlander sent Thekla into the steel steps and then started posing and showboating, and that allowed Thekla to gain the upper hand. You don't see that too often, where the babyface gets a little too arrogant and the heel is able to take advantage. So that was interesting. And then after the commercial break, Thekla did a superplex and then did a crossbody to the outside, got Statlander back in the ring, hit the spear, but could not make the cover right away. She targeted the arm. She hit a curb stomp. Statlander kicked out of that. And then Thekla went for another spear, but Statlander caught her with a kick, hit a power bomb, and then finally got the win with the Wednesday Night Fever, retaining her championship. And nice win for her. After the match, we had the Babes of Wrath out there to celebrate, and also you had the rest of Tekla's group out there, Megan Bain and Penelope Ford. So that feud will likely continue with the 6 women in some capacity. But yeah, really good match. Pretty strong women's match. One of the better women's matches on TV in quite some time. Shout out to Keith Johnson, a little off topic in terms of AEW. Says, last one, what do you see Powerhouse Hobbs's role being in WWE? Well, if it was me, I would put him in the main roster, Raw or SmackDown, and I would push him fairly strongly. I had mentioned on social media, like, I think he could be a bodyguard type role for Drew McIntyre. Put him in there and be the guy standing by Drew McIntyre, kind of like what Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed were for Seth Rollins before the injury forced a change of plans. That's what I would do. But I think it could go either way. Like, it wouldn't shock me if he ends up in NXT and they do something with him and Ricky Saints. But I would think that Hobbs will get a strong upper mid-card push, and how far he goes just depends on how well he fits in with WWE and how the crowds react to him. But I would definitely go big with him, and I'd probably have him skip NXT. You know, he's fresh off of AEW. I'd get him in there on the main roster right away, but I don't think it's a certainty. Maybe he shows up in the Royal Rumble, but I'm not super confident he'll be there. I hope so, though. I think he'll be a nice surprise if he does show up. Thank you for that. And backstage, we had The Demand, which is Ricochet and Gates of Agony, beating up Jack Perry, and the Gates of Agony ended up putting Ricochet through a table, and they did announce next week Jack Perry will face Ricochet for the national title, whatever it is. Next up, we had Don Callis backstage with Takeshita and Kyle Fletcher, and Don said that Takeshita should take Kyle Fletcher's lead and forgive Okada. Takeshita, though, was disappointed in Kyle and just walked off. So the plot thickens with that. They're still teasing the split with Takeshita and the Don Callis family. I'm not sure what they're waiting for, but it's still going on. And then we had FTR defending the tag team titles against Davis and Doyle with Stokely in his wheelchair on commentary. Pretty good match here. Davis and Doyle working well together. Strong men using their power. And then FTR built up momentum. However, Davis was able to avoid the Shatter Machine. And then the Death Riders showed up to get revenge from earlier. Remember, the Davis and Doyle team attacked Moxley earlier in the show. So he came back for revenge. He hit Davis with the Continental Championship. And then FTR hit the Shatter Machine and got the 1-2-3 victory. Nice title defense here for FTR. Still no sign of Cope and Christian, but with Revolution looming, one would think they'll show up by the Grand Slam event. Backstage, we had Orange Cassidy and Wheeler Yuta having a little confrontation, and then Marina Shafir grabbed Orange Cassidy's hair. Tony Storm came in, and looks like we've got a tag team match being set up with them at some point. We had our main event of the show, Swerve Strickland versus Andrade. Really good main event here. Andrade had his working shoes on, gets his opportunity on Dynamite, and they say Mello don't miss. Well, Andrade don't miss. Andrade had his opportunity, and he worked like a guy who wants to be a top star in AEW. I'll give Andrade credit. He worked his ass off in this one and put on quite the show here against Swerve. They ended up on the outside, and Andrade threw Swerve into the steps and then took a selfie with a female fan. So Andrade's trying to be the sex symbol now. On Collision, he stripped down into his shorts, took off his tights. And then after the commercial break, or pants, I should say, after the commercial break, Swerve hit a DVD, Death Valley Driver, on the apron. And then Andrade gave Swerve a back body drop on the barricade. And both men managed to beat the 10 count. Everybody does. They always beat the 10 count. Then Andrade delivered that spinning back elbow. Swerve kicked out of that. Swerve countered Andrade, hitting him with a house call kick. And then Andrade was able to regain the advantage. He delivered a reverse Hurricane Rana, did the running knees in the corner. Swerve kicked out of that, and then he hit the hammerlock DDT. Swerve kicked out of that again, and then Swerve came back with the house call kick and was perhaps on the verge of winning, but then Andrade grabbed the referee, and while the referee was momentarily distracted, Andrade hit a low blow, and he got the 1-2-3 victory over Swerve, which I think was the right move for two reasons. Number one, Andrade's first big match on Dynamite, so he really shouldn't be losing. And number two, now it will be Andrade versus Omega next week. And as I mentioned earlier, that is a match that was set up when Andrade came back. He attacked Omega. So we're finally getting a resolution to that. So I think it was the right move to have Andrade beat Swerve on this occasion and advance in this little tournament or whatever they're doing to determine the next challenger for MJF. And speaking of MJF, he was backstage and Kenny Omega approached him, and then MJF walked off only to run into Andrade. And then MJF kept going. He tried to get in his car outside, but Paige stopped him for a moment. And finally, MJF was able to get in his car and drive away. He had his driver. He didn't drive himself. He's the world champ. And I really liked the ending, that they had the moment with MJF and the challengers all breathing down his neck. Good stuff here. All in all, I think this Dynamite was a big step up from last week and one of the better ones in several months. Dave Scheffler sent in $2. He says, thought the main event and end of the show was pretty good. I agree. I really liked the main event. I liked the closing angle with MJF. All in all, very good wrestling as usual. And they did build up some matches, and we're starting to get some teases for Revolution. And we got Ciampa debuting. So there were some big moments on the show. All in all, I thought it was a pretty good Dynamite. I'm giving it 7 out of 10 this week. Entertaining show. Lots of stuff that I thought was memorable. For the most part, things happen and I just forget about them. But this week, we had some good angles. So definitely a step up. Shout out to Ta6195, who sent in a $2 super chat. Thank you for that. It says, what wrestlers have you met and any you still want to? I've met a few over the years. I mean, we did do some interviews years ago, and I met RVD, met Sean Waltman. I'm not the kind of person who does like fan events such as autograph signings. I mean, I met wrestlers when we were doing interviews and stuff like that. RVD was great. X-Pac was great. Met AJ Styles. Have a picture with him. Christopher Daniels, Frankie Kazarian. I used to go to the PWG shows around 2005, 2006, 2007. So got to meet a lot of those guys during that period. Don't necessarily have a desire to meet any of them. You know, to me, they're just people. I'm not like, oh my God, they're these larger than life superstars. You know, to me, they're TV performers. They're entertaining, but You know, I don't really feel that desire to meet celebrities in general. I'm not like starstruck over people. Maybe the only guy was like Penn and Teller, the magicians. I was a little starstruck from those guys, but beyond that, nobody I would meet and be like, oh my god, I'm jumping up and down. I need your autograph. You know, I've never been that type of person. But you know, meeting these guys and getting to chat with them and do something, you know, like a video or an interview or whatever, that was fun. Definitely had some good memories with those guys. All right, that's all I got for this edition of the AEW Dynamite recap. Thank you all so much for watching. Much love and appreciation to you guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please give this video a thumbs up. Next up on the lineup is our predictions video for WWE Royal Rumble, first predictions video of the year, Thursday night, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. Check that out, nodq.com/YouTube, and stay tuned to No DQ for all the very latest wrestling